So let's move on to the World of Warcraft private server being shut down. Nostalrius, private server in France. They were emulating the vanilla World of Warcraft, and Blizzard, of course, shut it down. It's really inflamed kind of a conversation about game preservation and the loss of game data as it relates to because vanilla World of Warcraft doesn't exist anymore. Things changed, especially after a certain expansion pack called Cataclysm came out, which drastically changed the landscape of several zones in the original world. And there's this large segment of the population that just wants to play the game as it originally was released. And Blizzard sent their lawyers in, shut it down.
So I have mixed feelings about this. On the one hand, I feel bad for these guys who lost their server, and I'm not sure if Blizzard, Activision Blizzard, really needed to shut it down. I mean, I understand from protecting their rights, they had to do that if they wanted to protect their rights, but they could have given a license or something if they chose to do that. I'm not sure if it was necessary to shut it down. I feel a little bit bad. On the other side of the coin, I sort of am laughing at these guys a little bit because this, to me, epitomizes one of the main reasons why I don't play online games, because, I mean, this is something you have to accept if you're going to play an online game, that you don't own it, you don't have control over it. It's not about a single-player experience. It's about interacting with the world that they're creating for you, and they can change that world at any time, and you need to understand that when you go into it. And if you don't understand it when you're going into it, that's, unfortunate. I mean, you're getting a little bit of a rude awakening right now. And if you don't like what Blizzard did with the world, it sort of sucks. I mean, you stop playing, but you shouldn't really have any expectation that it's going to stay the way it was for all time.
Yeah, it just where it gets legally kind of hairy is in this particular situation. There's a lot of, we talk about abandonware sometimes and how those folks are doing work that the industry's not doing to preserve old games. But with World of Warcraft, you have a situation where they're preserving a game that is still running, but doesn't exist in the same form as it did as what they're emulating. So it's almost like a time capsule of World of Warcraft, and I don't know, Activision's looking at this very much from a point of view of this is, there's 1 million people playing this server, and they were looking at it from a point of view of those are 1 million potential subscribers. I'm pretty sure is what they were looking at it. Plus, you have this movie coming out this year. I think it's coming out in June, and they're very weird about their intellectual property, I'm sure, as it relates to the name Warcraft and how it's how the branding is relating back to them. Plus, there's also them losing control over their own IP, which is something else that they're going to be, because I think it was someone in chat brought up, I don't remember who it was, said that when Blizzard loses control of their own property, there's nothing stopping these folks from, and this is a weird example, I'm sure they never would have done this, but someone makes the case that, hey, let's have the Night Elves be naked. That'd be fun, So there's no quality control on from the IP holder to make sure that these guys don't put naked Night Elves in there. Now they did not do that. I'm not saying that they actually did it, but it's a possibility as far as Activision is concerned.
Well, that's why I said before they could have given a license. They didn't. Obviously, they don't have to, but they could have given a license that would have restricted it somewhat.
The license is a tough issue here because there has now been precedents for the last several years. People fighting, getting legal cases of trying to change the laws to preserve MMO, legacy and stuff officially. It didn't quite go anywhere, but see, the thing is, my opinion is Blizzard couldn't have given an official okay for that, because that would instantly legitimize all of that. They'll be like, oh, here's a case of Blizzard actually handing something down, but what they probably, in my opinion, should have done is just turn a blind eye to that, because this was not 1 million lost subscriptions.
Mhm.
And Blizzard is not going to gain that many subscriptions from that. I sincerely doubt it, because that was a server with a very specific thing. And of course, I'm mostly kind of concerned. Well, not concerned, but it's the statement that Blizzard issued that sort of bothered me, because they essentially were like, "This is ours, and yeah, we don't like that. But if there is enough interest, we'll sort of create a new vanilla world." And we know damn well that there isn't enough interest, because however many players. First of all, something that I'm gonna say right up front, I don't know about. Were those people charging any kind of a subscription to play on the vanilla server?
No, it was free.
It was free. So were those people running that server? Running the server for free that takes money. So not
It was
only
a
those
great personal expense that they ran that thing. Yeah.
right. So they not only spent a time reverse engineering the server structure, right, and running. So they ran it at essentially money loss, right? So that was literally a service that they were providing. So a service that Blizzard does not want to provide, or maybe doesn't even have technical capability to do so in a sort of a global way. So that really wasn't lost revenue, and that was like specifically sort of stated that the IP and the brand and whatever. Secondly, I think if they wanted to make the elves naked on their server, that was very clearly unofficial. Yeah, I mean, yeah, why not? It's like if it's unofficial, then whatever. Like here's the thing: Blizzard didn't want to legitimize it, right?
So hold on. I agree with you partially, but I also disagree. I agree with you that they weren't losing those million subscribers, and in fact, by shutting down the server, they probably for sure lost those million subscribers, because now there's a lot of bad will that they generated with those million people, and they're not going to want to sign up to anything that Blizzard does. So that I 100% agree. But two things I don't agree. One is I don't agree that there was a slippery slope. Like if they wanted to, they could have given a license and said there's a license only for this server, for this guy. We could revoke it at any time. We could put some additional stipulations, like if the content goes whatever. They could have done that. I'm not saying they should have done it, but it was a possibility.
No, it absolutely was a possibility, but it's a possibility that...
Let me finish for a second. Now, I want to imagine let's say it was a Sesame Street program, and then somebody who owns the server decided that he wants to make the characters naked or something like that, and you're like, oh, that's totally fine. The rights holder, in that case, they really have discretion to decide what is okay for their property and what's not.
Right.
So, it wouldn't have bothered you or me, but it's possible that it would have bothered some people somewhere, and Blizzard's definitely within their rights to stop that type of thing if they want to. But they could have done it, again, with a license, theoretically, that would have put very specific parameters on it. Maybe it would not have been worth their time. Maybe they felt like they would have had to dedicate some guy to go check it out all the time, and they didn't want to deal with it, and that's very possible. But it was an option, at least.
Right. Well, no, I actually agree with both of those points. I'm just saying, like, if Blizzard didn't want the elves to be naked, they would have to legitimize it. But Blizzard also doesn't want to legitimize that. So in their only third option, essentially, which wasn't turn a blind eye anymore. That's also the fourth, being like, just let it go. The only other option at that point is to shut it down. That's what I don't agree with. I was like, yes, of course, I would love for Blizzard to legitimize it. That would open a whole new level of this conversation of historical preservation as well. They don't want to do that. None of the big companies want to do that.
What's interesting about World of Warcraft is it's in free fall subscriber-wise right now. Like, Wrath of Lich King, which was the third expansion, was the peak of their subscribers, and they've been dwindling ever since. But ever since this last one, they've just been, just like
it's been a while.
Yeah, well, it's over 10 years, And I mean, I've been a pretty loyal player of the game. I'm not currently subscribing to it, but it's because I've just run out of interest. I'm just kind of waiting on the next thing, which is probably what a lot of people are doing. But keeping that interest level up on a 10-year-old game is definitely a problem. But their accounting people are probably looking at those 1 million people, and me and you both know, or the three of us know, or four of us, that those are not lost subscribers. But Blizzard probably doesn't view it the same way.
Blizzard, let's face it, they know what they're in for. But in my opinion, they just don't want to legitimize it. They just don't want to make like a decision that would sort of pull in any specific direction. It's
Yeah.
easier to threaten somebody legally and just be like, let's be done with it.
Yeah, they don't want to set
than-
precedent.
well,
I agree with you. It's about the easiness of it. Activision's a very big company, okay?
Mhm.
And they have a lot of lawyers, I'm sure. And they have people whose job it is to look out for things like this and make sure that nobody's infringing upon their IP. And then, to shut it down is so much easier to them than to try to do anything else.
Mhm.
And they're not in their minds, they're not benefiting at all from having this thing up and running, because none of these people are subscribers. They're not ever going to be subscribers. It doesn't do anything for them. I think what they maybe didn't think about is what the backlash would be of shutting it down, but they also might think, yeah, there's going to be a backlash, but who cares? It'll blow over in 2 weeks. Everyone will be on to the next internet story, and that'll be the end of it.
Probably.
I mean, probably that's the case. I mean, realistically, going forward, I think it would be a nice thing if they could create a vanilla server, but I don't know what the technical work is to do that, so I can't really say one way or the other.
Well, the only thing I'll say on that is that they had kind of a line, and there was a line in the response that they did that said something to the effect of, we've thought about this, but it's just too difficult, and I maybe don't buy.
Response from the community, and there's never going to be enough response.
No.
They're essentially saying we can do something, not quite like that, but something like that, but also you have to pay us, subscription.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it would be a really smart move if they would hire that guy that made the fan server.
Well, I mean,
Seriously.
but that, this was a team of like 2 or 3 or 5 guys. I don't know how many the people were, but they were able to reverse engineer it to pay credit for themselves. But you have Blizzard, who's like a huge company, and you're telling me that they don't have the resources to make this happen. I mean, they've got some of the best programmers in the world working for them.
I think it's also an issue to be integrating that old structure with a new structure. I think is more of an issue than.
Yeah, they'd have to get new servers probably, and
also, let's say like the whole thing is written in spaghetti code, hypothetically speaking, and now they've moved past that, and everything is like all source control and really good and all modularized code, and they're like, we don't want to ever look at this again. I mean, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But I still think, regardless, they should hire this guy just as if nothing else, as a PR stunt.
Yeah, and just take his code.
Yeah, in best case scenario, they could make him a community manager or something like that. He obviously understands the community. Have this guy help them relate to the community in a way that'll be beneficial to everybody.
Yeah, just fly out the servers to the Blizzard offices. Just plug it into the socket. Yeah, make it separate. I mean, there's a million things that could have been done that would have been better than this for preservation. Obviously, again, we've seen that all the time that it's a huge company, and the end in that preservation, the end never justifies the means financially. It's just ending. So there's the market is very small. Yes, 1 million people seems like a lot, right? 850,000 accounts seems like a lot, but like, would those people be playing if it wasn't free? Probably not. It's like big company does not want to make an investment if there isn't a return, and there's very likely there was no return.
I mean, it's a damn huge problem, especially with MMOs, because someone posted a picture of a CD of Shadowbane in the group, and that game is gone. Shadowbane is toast. You can never ever play Shadowbane ever again that I know of. There may be a private server out there somewhere, but in an official capacity, if you own Shadowbane, you can't play it anymore.
Right.
And the Tabula Rasa was another one I was just thinking of. That I love Tabula Rasa, but I can't play it. Can't play it at all. So.
Many of those things are disappearing at the online only. I mean, like on consoles, even worse. Like I can't buy that Scott Pilgrim game, or more recently the big case is PT, right? So that's a bit shitty.
Well, it's pretty sad if you think about it, because World of Warcraft is still running. So take me, I'm an sort of anti-online, anti-MMO guy. But it's been 10 years already. This game has had huge popularity. They got great collector's edition boxes. I'm being worn down a little bit. I'm like, this thing is actually really good. Pascal shaking his head no, but maybe this thing's actually worth playing. Maybe I should go in and play the game and try it out. But do I have an option to do that, or can I? If I wanted to join and start playing now, I guess I could do that. But it would be like the latest thing, and it wouldn't be the stuff that everyone liked and that brought it where it is today.
That's correct. You completely missed that. Like that the stuff that everyone talks about as being the good old days are gone. You know,
Like I want to play those original campaigns that everyone thought were amazing and that made the game what it is today. And if I can't do that and the game is still running, there's somebody messed up. I mean, there's a problem there.
Yeah.
At least
well,
how
I
I feel.
can not only that, but if you pay for it, you can level straight to 100. You can actually buy your character up to max level, so you can just skip it.
All right. Well, that's a separate conversation about if that's a good idea or not. But let's say I don't care. Level 0, level 1, level 100, whatever. But I want to play that first 5 campaigns. Like it's not available. That's a shame. It's like, oh, Stuart, you can still play if you want, but you're gonna have to play the game as it exists today with all the declining subscribers, and they're declining for a reason I don't know. But it seems like a problem.
Well, we don't.
It is.
We just, in the preservation community, it's very apparent that there's really that's one thing that it's kind of on the sidelines because it's very current, but we don't know what to do with sort of MMO preservation. Nobody knows. I mean, you can't play the original version of Farmville. That's like a big point, right? Farmville is around, right? Is it still? People play Farmville?
I guess so.
But you cannot play that version from whatever the hell it started. Since then it changed. And where is it preserved? Maybe nowhere. It's like it's also there's this always constantly evolving thing. It doesn't have to be MMOs. It can be just as simple as a game your mother plays on your phone.
Well, Diablo 3 is an interesting example because it's kind of a single-player game, and it doesn't exist in the same way that it did before either, because it's always online and you have to patch it. So it's not just an MMO problem. Of course, Diablo 3's got integrated multiplayer, but you can play it by yourself.
Well, again, the more physical connection that there is, there's always a better chance of somebody, hacking on passionate support. Like here's eventually it will happen. I mean, somebody when what was that SimCity game came out, right? That had the last SimCity game that was multiplayer only. Like it was, I think, the 2 days after somebody hacked in just offline mode essentially for it. So if we still have something to fall back on, that's good. But you cannot download World of Warcraft. You know what I mean? Like you cannot something needs to be done in a different way. But again, it's a whole different. It's a conversation that's separate from Activision Blizzard. It's its own.
Yeah, I think this is a symptom of the whole underlying problem of developers, in many cases, are lazy. They've got used to the fact that the internet exists and everyone's online all the time for the most part, and therefore they don't have to put, they don't have to release all the content on day one. They can have these giant patches, and everyone's tolerating it for now and just saying, yes, sir, give me more, please, more 10 gigabyte patch. And same thing, they don't have to design the game in such a way that it has any chance of being able to be run offline afterwards. Like an example, I played this game Majestic by EA when it came out, which was like an online adventure game, and I didn't really want to play an online game, but that was the only way. That was the premise of the game, and I figured if I don't play it now, it's going to get shut down, which it did. It got shut down very quickly because they didn't have enough subscribers. And it was pretty fun while it lasted, and then they released a version which was in a box on a CD, but the CD version still went out to the internet to download the movies, and then pretty soon those were gone. Within the next 6 months for sure, maybe within even a month. They could have put the videos on a CD if they wanted to, but it was just who cares? Whatever. There's no gamers don't care. That's the problem. We care, and some people care, but mass gamers don't care, or they don't care enough to make it an issue, and therefore the companies are going to keep on doing things like that and getting away with it until it gets to some boiling point. If it ever does, maybe it'll just be, we're just the old fogies, and 70 years from now we'll be saying I remember when we could buy a game on a disc and it used to work, and everybody else will be shut up, old man, we don't care.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. We'll get to a point where something will change, hopefully. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, gaming is really weird, right? With how fleeting it is. Everything, because it's so reliant on technology and everything, we refer to so many things as obsolete and whatever, and we largely don't care. I think there's more to it lately. There's a bit of a buzz, mostly
It's
because.
weird. I mean, the act of, as an art form, the act of watching a movie hasn't really changed all that much since they were first invented. I mean, the location of where you do it is different, but you pretty much sit down and just watch it. But as an art form, video games, the act of interfacing with video games has changed considerably since it first came out. So
It's too technology dependent. That's the
yeah.
thing. As technology dies off, like we're sort of just put it under the bed and move on. Which is, if it's under the bed, at least it's somewhat safe, maybe. But but usually it's if it's in a trash can, then it's usually gone.
Well,
Like that.
I'll cap the conversation. Sorry to break you off there.
That's okay.
To cap the conversation off, I'll say that the ironic thing is that World of Warcraft will end at some point. I think we can all agree with that. And when it does, it will be the hackers or the people like the folks. I'm not saying they're hackers, but the people that were running the server will be the ones that will keep it going. You know, so that's kind of the more ironic part of it, because I cannot see Blizzard like releasing some kind of single player experience for World of Warcraft after it's gone. That's just not going to happen. And it'll be a massive part of game history because it's one of the most important game releases ever that just won't exist anymore. Shut up, Pascal.
I mean, it is so amazing that three guys are talking about preserving World of Warcraft for over than 20 minutes, because why the heck would someone preserve a game like this? It's an MMO. Why do we want to preserve it? I mean, it's okay if some people play it for a while. I was wondering if it even happens still, so there are still people playing it. That is amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
But why
Not as
do
many
we
as used to.
there's such a thing? You go in the game, you play for hours, you go out, you didn't remember what you did the last hours. So what's the point of preserving something like that? I don't get it. There are so many games to preserve, yeah, but that kind of...
Have you ever played it before at all? I'm gonna guess not.
I watched guys playing it, and that was all the experience I needed at that point. That was like, wow, that is...
I played the trial. I played the original trial, and then went run out. I was like, well, I had enough.
I'll say that the experience that these guys in France were trying to keep going was as a space to inhabit. It's pretty amazing. It was a pretty amazing thing back then. I don't know that it was. You could argue the merits of the game itself, but it's just a place to hang out. It was pretty kick-ass.